Hey guys, if you like my content, hit those like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Esports Money, ZSM, Mac10, whatever you want to call me, and welcome to my guide to jungling Dragon Knight in patch 7.06F. God, I'm ready to get rid of this patch. You're probably ready to get rid of this patch, but hey, we are still working with this patch, in my case, I guess quite literally. So, a few things about jungling Dragon Knight, and as always, remember to stay tuned after the guide section of the video where I talk about some tips and tricks and specifics related to Dragon Knight. So, jungling Dragon Knight is an interesting proposition because you kind of have to balance offense and defense. The hero is typically sent mid lane because of the fact that you get lots of experience here. And the thing that makes him a subpar jungler at times is the fact that he doesn't get nearly as much experience in the jungle as he would in lane, despite his farm not being too terrible, but he's very level dependent because his abilities scale very, very well. The damage from his Q scales very well. His stun scales pretty okay. It's not bad. His passive, Dragon Blood, just scales incredibly well, and then his ultimate is, of course, awesome. It's absolutely sick. So in terms of the mechanics of jungling him, I like to play it safe and get a stout shield on him, though I'm not entirely sure if he needs it. I've played around with it a little bit both ways. I think the safe choice is to go with the stout shield, and then you can feel more confident getting a bottle instead of saving the extra gold for a soul ring, and the bottle will actually result in more mana faster, so you can spam your Dragon Breath more often and sooner because you'll have the gold faster. You'll have the item faster than you would have if you waited an extra 100 gold and got the soul ring. That being said, there is some credit to give to the soul ring consideration. If you don't think you can get the boundary runes in your jungle, probably want to go soul ring. Another nice advantage of the soul ring is the general mana regen over the course of the game, and even beyond that, it gives you +3 hit points per second regen, and that's very useful when you consider that Omni Knight really likes mana regen. Because he has lots of it, and the fact that he's often carrying an armlet further accentuates this, because it means that the armlet damage over time is reduced to you. So, as far as skill build in the jungle goes, I typically get my Q at level 1. A lot of people don't realize that your Q, your Breathe Fire ability, actually reduces the amount of damage that creeps do by 35%. This is also the same across all levels, so feel free to experiment a bit. He does not do further damage reduction with increased points in the Q. This also lets him zone people out pretty well, just because he's taking less damage as he's aggroing creeps when you have him in lane, but again, we're mostly focusing on the jungle here. So that's why Breathe Fire is good, that's why I pick it at level 1, and that's also why I choose to max it first. Another thing about him is the damage scales pretty well with his Breathe Fire, and you only get an additional 10 points of mana required to cast it with each additional point in it, so I typically will also max that first. I think it's pretty standard to max that ability first because the damage scales very well, and it allows him to flash farm, and this is true regardless of whether or not you take him to the lane or you take him to the jungle. In this video, I do go ahead and get the bottle first, and I will grab my boots, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to jungle the full armlet here. You can get it by around 10-11 minutes-ish if you stay in the jungle that long. However, I would recommend roaming around a bit and finishing either treads or getting the brown boots and then getting the wind-laced. However, you'll probably be comfy finishing the treads because that way you'll have at least your level 6. Another thing that I'd like to point out is that you'll actually jungle not too much faster, but a little more safer if you get a single point into your, if you get a second point into your passive at level 4. However, Dragon Knight's level 1 stun is the most powerful level 1 stun in the game, and I'll talk about this more in the after the video notes. So I will be getting a point in that level 4 because it's just too good to pass up. It's absolutely absurd. One big limitation of Dragon Knight that I have to mention is that his movement speed is very low. With a base movement speed of 290, it on paper doesn't seem that low, but it feels very low when you're moving around the jungle, especially when you are a melee hero that doesn't do all that much damage and mostly rely on your ability to jungle mostly relies on the fact that you're incredibly tanky. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a relatively short video, but I'm going to go ahead and cut you guys over to tips and tricks and related stuff like that. Okay guys, we're back, and so now we're going to be talking a little bit about later game skill build, overall talent related stuff, and some things you should probably know about Dragon Knight. So first of all, as I previously mentioned, the Dragon Tail is the best level 1 stun in the entire game. It is absolutely insane. It's 2.5 seconds. That's a guaranteed kill if you have any kind of follow-up, if you're level 1 in lane and you get it. Again, his movement speed isn't the best at 290. It's not horrible, but it's not the best, which makes it hard for him to land that level 1 stun, and the follow-up. If someone sees him coming, you gotta run away. Also, the stun is melee range, so you gotta get up into somebody's grill with it. For this reason, you'll occasionally see people go all in with some kind of movement speed item, like typically, I think you can't. Can you buy one? You can buy Windlace level 1. But brown boots, and then just basically all in on that, banking on getting a first blood kill, but if that goes wrong, then you are behind. So I don't know if I necessarily recommend that, because it's kind of a gamble. Another thing is that when you are in your ultimate dragon form, which is pretty awesome, the cooldown is 115 seconds and the duration is 60, so you're in dragon form for a very, very long time. You get 350 bonus attack range, and if you have a dragon lance, your attack speed is increased even further, to the point where you can actually build a hurricane pike and do all that sort of rangy stuff with it, if you so desire. And while you're in your dragon form, the range is 400. So now you have a 100 damage, 3.5 second duration stun at 400 range, with a 9-second cooldown at level 4. So it's very, very, very good. Another thing about Breathe Fire is it's 300 magic damage at level 4. So it's a very, very good flash farming ability, regardless of whether you're in the jungle or lane, because you typically will be going to the jungle to farm at least at some point in the game, especially if you have camp stacking or support stacking your camps, or if you remember to do it at times. So his ultimate's also got an interesting history, and I don't think a lot of people realize this because I didn't notice it for a long time. So originally in Dota 1, the Green Dragon gave you Poison, which works on buildings, and it gave you Splash damage at level 2, and then it gave you Frost damage at level 3. Now you get, at level 2, you get the same passive from level 1, and at level 3 you get the same passive from level 2. So at level 3 you have Poison that works on buildings, and you have Splash, and you have the Slow. So that's really, really cool, but back in the day you used to have to pick, and because people really like the damage over time, and because you weren't that big of a right-click monster, a lot of people would wait to get their level 2 ultimate until later on in the game, because your level 1 ultimate is very, very good for pushing towers. In fact, I would strongly recommend taking your level 1 ultimate to, if you fail with a gank and people end up retreating rather than you just dying, then you can use that ulti burn to just kill a tower while you're there anyway. He's very, very good at killing towers early in the game. Actually, most points of the game. He's just good at killing. He's a good pushing hero, despite the fact that he's a slow strength hero. That doesn't seem like it on the surface. Let's talk about his talents, or lastly, let's talk about items. So, Armlet is probably the big one that you want to be thinking about with this hero, because at your level 4 passive, you have 12 HP regen per second. His base regen is not terrible because he is a strength hero. So, let's see what it actually is. It's 1, so that gives you 13 regen, and this does, how much? Drains 45 per second, so that's reduced to 32, plus it gives you 7 regen, which reduces it even farther to 25, and then it also gives you 25 strength, and strength gives you 1.1. Does that really give you... Really? Wow. So yeah, you're taking less than half the damage that you should be from Armlet because of the amount of strength that you have and the amount of sick regen you have from your passive. So Armlet's very popular on him. Satanic used to be to try to negate this, but Satanic's not that popular on him anymore for a handful of reasons I don't want to go too far into. So as far as talents go, at level 10, it's largely up to you. Because of the fact that the hero really likes to build items like Assault Cuirass and Moonshard later on in the game, rather than building a heart, though the heart is a good option, the attack speed is not always that desirable. If you're thinking that you're going to get a heart at some point, and you're going to do the weird sort of heart and armlet build, then go for the attack speed. If you think you're going to prize heart over AC, which I don't think you should do. If you're doing something more standard, which means you've got the armlet already, and therefore you don't need the strength as badly, and then if you have an armlet, then it would make more sense to go for attack speed, at least you would think it would, but armlet gives you a decent amount of attack speed, 25, just from having it in your inventory, and that's not even from the active. So it's largely up to you here, but I think the big question is whether or not you're going to get heart or Assault Cuirass, and I strongly recommend getting the Assault Cuirass instead of the heart, so go for the strength here. At level 15, go for the 40% experience gain. This talent is not as strong as you think it is because it happens at level 15 and not at level 10, but it's still very good. And the reason I think it's very good is because if you rush that up to level 20, and if you get that 40% experience gain talent, then it pushes you faster to the level 20 talent, which is 120 gold per minute, and I 100% think that you should get this in almost every single situation where you are going to have at least like 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, you have 1,200 extra gold. In 20 minutes, it's 2,400 extra gold. That means in 20 minutes of literally existing, you now have a Crystallis plus like 300 extra gold. Like 120 per minute is teetering on what I would consider a very large amount. Also, with the 40% experience gain, it will get you to your level 25 talent faster. This one's largely up to you. If you are building items that coincidentally have some movement speed, which is not necessarily the norm with DK, and DK's movement speed is not that great to begin with, then go for the movement speed. Otherwise, go for the Dragon Blood and the Dragon Blood talent. Another thing to take into consideration here is the health regen is good against any type of damage, but armor doesn't do anything against magic, and health regen isn't very good against burst damage, so if you have a Lena and a Lion or something else on your team that's relying on instantly killing you or burning you down from start to finish immediately, then the movement speed is going to give you more, is going to give you a better return on this because of the fact that you get something out of it versus the Dragon Blood won't keep you alive in those engagements. Another thing to remember is that's 24 armor, that's an extra 12 armor and an extra 12 regen, which is very nice, but 75 movement speed is absolutely massive on this hero, considering he really, really likes movement speed, especially when he's not in his dragon form. Another thing to go along with that is when you're in your Elder Dragon form at level 3, you do a lot of attacks slow, and by having 75 movement and reducing the enemy's movement, you're basically ensuring that you can chase them forever and you're just going to slowly murder anyone. But again, by the time you get this talent, you're level 25 and one-on-one engagements are going to be increasingly rare. What it will do is allow you to escape if you go the Shadow Blade into Silver Edge route, which is popular on this hero. Lastly, I have to give a notable mention to Blink Dagger. Blink Dagger is good on almost every single hero in Dota, but it's especially good on Dragon Knight, and if you go this route, then movement speed might not be as important. Again, it's at your discretion. But the Blink Dagger is very good on this hero because he can jump in and blink with Dragon Tail, and if you're in your ultimate form, then it takes virtually no finesse to execute because you have a 400 range. It doesn't even take that much finesse to execute even if you're not in Dragon form because you just blink and melee range up someone and use the stun, and at level 4 that's 3.25 seconds, and even if you only have a single value point in it, that's 2.5 seconds. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.